Good evening. I am Wayne Biggs, Chief Executive Officer of the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority. I want to welcome you to tonight's public forum of Vision 2040. Our community, our economy, our future, a vision of prosperity for all. Assisting me in moderation tonight are Chanel Peterson, the Managing Director of Marketing and Vision 2040 of the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority. Also assisting will be Dan Gunderson, Senior Vice President, Camoin 310, and Dan Stevens, Senior Project Manager, Camoin 310. The project team consists of the Governor of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Governor Albert Bryan, the Vision 2040 Task Force, the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, and Camoin 310 and its team that are assisting as the consultants to this Vision 2040 project. Tonight's events are being shown live on television via WTJX and the Government Access Channel, Zoom online, and for the Zoom link, please go to www.usvi2040.com, live streaming on facebook.com/USVI 2040 and facebook.com WTJX YouTube channel, and by radio on station 107.9 FM The Vibe and 103.5 FM The Reef. This evening's agenda will consist of the background and overview of Vision 2040, listening sessions where you tell us what is unique about the Virgin Islands, how can we tap in to create more jobs, what is preventing economic growth, and where do you see future business opportunities for the VI? And then finally, we'll have the wrap up and next steps. Vision 2040 is an interactive, participatory process to produce a long-term economic strategy and action plan that positions the U.S. Virgin Islands as a vibrant, desirable place to live and visit, and as a prosperous business location that is competitive based on its abilities to develop, retain, and attract talented workers with creativity and imagination. There are plenty of opportunities to get involved through our outreach and engagement. And we ask that you go to www.usvi2040 and take the survey. They are resident island surveys, or complete the open houses. Impacting long-term economic prosperity, the key issues are agriculture, climate change and resiliency, education and training, energy and telecommunications, entrepreneurship and small business development, government solvency, proficiency and responsiveness, healthcare, infrastructure, public safety, targeted industry sectors, tourism, and others, such as equity and quality of life. The 2040 project schedule is as follows. In October, we kicked off with our press conference by the Governor of the Virgin Islands, and we started our research and analysis, and we started our outreach and engagement. We did our first citizen surveys, and we did our first public presentation. In November, the strategic framework began developing, and we continued our outreach and engagement strategies. We had our virtual open houses and our second public presentation that you're at tonight. In December, we'll start developing those strategies. We'll have our town hall meetings, and we'll continue some outreach and engagement. And then in January, we anticipate our first draft and our final report in mid-February. Our listening sessions. We want to hear from you. There are going to be 3 segments, each one about 20 minutes long. The first one, you tell us what is unique about the Virgin Islands and how we can tap into to create more jobs. The second session will be what is preventing economic growth here in the territory. And we'd like to have an honest conversation in regard to the roadblocks or potential challenges that we're facing. And then finally, where do you see the future business opportunities for the VI, and how can we tap in to those business opportunities? If you're on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function, and we will unmute your mic so you can ask your question, and we'll be happy to respond. If you're using telephone, please feel free to call us at 340-718-3339. Again, we're on Facebook at the USVI EDA page, at the Vision 2040 page, and the WTJX page. Also, we're on the WTJX YouTube. Please add your comments in the comment sections and we'll respond accordingly. Our first listening session. Tell us what is unique about the VI and how can we tap into our uniqueness to create more jobs. Please feel free to call us at 340-718-3339, or as I indicated, please raise your hand in the Zoom link and we will unmute your mic and you can ask your question. There are plenty of unique areas in the Virgin Islands, so we're hoping that we can identify all of our assets and how we can tap into those assets. I'll start off this conversation. I think one of our assets is definitely our broadband capabilities. Basically, we have our middle mile, and as you are aware, our middle mile or our broadband bandwidth is second only to the state of New York. So there's lots of opportunities for online businesses, for software development, and for e-commerce. Another one of our assets is our deep water ports here on St. Croix and our ports in St. Thomas, our tourism product. We have the opportunity to develop that tourism product further, but also to create potential transshipment with our deep water ports here in the territory. Further asset, Senator Francis's bill that created the South Shore Trade Zone allows us to now create a free trade zone on the South Shore of St. Croix that allows for a free trade zone area, basically from the container port to the West Airport Road and bounded by the Melvin H. Evans Highway on the north. Again, that will allow us the opportunities to create manufacturing entities that do high value manufacturing that can now bring their product into that free trade zone at a reduced price with no taxes until it leaves and goes into the market.
Mr. Biggs, we have someone in the Zoom that has their hand raised. We'd like to recognize Mr. Schuster. You may go ahead and ask your question.
We may be having some difficulties hearing Mr. Schuster.
We are a nearshore offshore site.
Mr. Schuster, we're just hearing you, so it looks like we may have missed your question. Can you please repeat your question? Thank you.
That the Virgin Islands are a nearshore offshore location.
I concur. I think if you look at the proximity of the Virgin Islands to the rest of the Caribbean islands, if you look at it in proximity to Central America, South America, and the mainland USA, we definitely are a nearshore offshore location. We're a U.S. territory, but very close proximity to the U.S. mainland. So for U.S. companies that offshore, if they offshore here in the territory, of course, we fit all U.S. laws, U.S. currency, U.S. courts, and therefore it makes repatriating goods and or money back to the United States a lot easier. So definitely a nearshore, offshore location is an asset for us here.
We have another asset that came in, and it is that from Ms. Hill, the VI culture is both rich and should be exposed via digital platform.
Culture. I think culture is definitely something that we need to take advantage of. And definitely we need to look at our culture and see how we can export our culture and use our culture as far as a tourism attraction. Not only our culture, but also our history. And I guess the history adds to that culture. But I think particularly on St. Croix, there is definitely history, culture, and I'm going to say basically our culinary arts also. So I'm going to add food to that as part of our culture also.
We'd like to remind everybody that for those listening in on Facebook, there's going to be about a 1-minute delay from both TV as well as the Zoom Live.
Come on out there, please. Feel free to call us. We're trying to get the assets. I can list a few more, but I'm trying to give you guys a chance out there to call in and list a few more assets that we have here in the territory.
We've got another one that just came in from Mr. Fliegel. He states that it's gorgeous here. We have beautiful beaches, coral reefs, and rainforests. An additional one came in, so I don't know if you'd like to speak a little bit on that, Mr. Biggs.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely sell our beauty as islands. Our beaches are second to none. As you know, throughout the Virgin Islands, we have beaches that are rated in the top 10 throughout the world on regular occasions. Something else I think that we have not listed there, I like to put weather up there. I think our weather is really something that we can sell, especially as we talked about remote work in the COVID environment. We don't know, or I don't believe that we will go back to where there's a lot of people in office settings. And with remote work, we blend our weather along with our broadband internet and our beauty and our culture. There's no reason that we can't attract workers to work remotely from the Virgin Islands. So I think those are some other areas that we can really use and as assets.
We've got a few more that have came in on the Zoom, and from Ms. George, we have the entrepreneurial mindset, or excuse me, entrepreneurial minded is what makes the USVI unique.
I concur. We have lots of entrepreneurial minds here in the territory. Again, I'll go back and say, if you look at our culinary restaurants, there's a wide range of restaurants. We have boat building, we have motherboard manufacturing. We have definitely lots of financial service entities. So definitely entrepreneur minded here in the territory.
Some additional that have came in through Zoom is that workforce, specifically the diversity of the workforce capabilities and efficient costing makes the USVI unique.
I concur. I think we have a workforce that's second to none with the university continually expanding their coursework also. I think that assists. Also, the university definitely has programs that they can help develop training programs through the UVI cell and some of their other programs there. So I think definitely we have a diverse and capable and efficient workforce. Also, our workforce tends to be very loyal, and so there's longevity with businesses. So when you train individuals, they tend to stay with those companies for long periods of time. So you're not continuously training and people are moving on and then you're retraining. So if you look at our loyalty of our workforce, you will see that they spend many, many years in the jobs once they're there.
Some additional feedback from Zoom from Mr. Fliegel, agricultural tourism, unique experiences to learn about tropical fruits, family farms, and farm-to-table experiences.
Farm-to-table is definitely a big experience here, and many of the restaurants are now doing farm-to-table where they're using definitely the local fruits, the local herbs in regard to bringing those things right from the farm to the table. And you can definitely experience that here. As I indicated, there's a vast and wide range of cultural experience and culinary experiences here. And you can get any type of food, from sushi to, fine dining, everything in between.
As we continue to dive into the question, we've had one question that have came up on Zoom as well, and it is, are there any incentives for small businesses to bring tourists and other businesses to the island? I think you got this one, Biggs.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there are incentive programs depending on the type of business that you're looking at. If it is a tourist attraction facility or tourist attraction business, it can potentially qualify for EDC benefits. And as you're aware, EDC benefits provides a 90% reduction on income tax, corporate income tax, and also pass-through income tax for residents of the territory, 100% gross receipt tax reduction, 100% property tax reduction for the business property and the property that's used in the business operation, and also 100% excise tax reduction, and the customs duty is reduced from the standard 6% to 1%. So definitely, if you're in the tourist industry and you're trying to create a tourist attraction, such as a zip line, a golf course, some of those other amenities, the potential is there that you can receive EDC tax incentives for that project.
We're getting a lot more on the beautiful beaches and beauty, but to add to some of the comments that we're getting through on Zoom, we've got from Mr. Quinones, clean air and mostly unpolluted waters as an additional uniqueness to the VI, as well as incredibly beautiful views and quiet places and parks from Ms. Coldren.
Yeah, we're touching somewhat on our marine industries, and we have a vast amount of assets in the marine industry. I agree with the beaches. I concur with the basically unpolluted waters, but also the diving experiences are second to none here in the territory. Deep sea fishing, the snorkeling adventures. So there's lots of sea adventures, and the EDA, along with the Division of Economic Research and being head by the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, is also working on what's called the Blue Economy Plan. And so we're developing a plan in regard to the marine infrastructure, and how do we take advantage of maximizing the potential of the marine environment, but not only maximizing for economic purposes, but also for preservation. How do we stop runoff? How do we stop pollution? A variety of other things. So as we talk more and more about plans, we'll also talk about the marine plan. But tonight we're talking here about Vision 2040, which is the 20-year economic plan that we're trying to create for the territory.
We have some additional comments coming in through Zoom on the uniqueness about the USVI, and it's from Mr. Schuster. 6 major shipping lanes around St. Croix.
Agreed. And again, there are some projects in the works in regard to shipping. There's some projects regarding creating a commercial dry dock facility. And there's also in regard to creating a boat building, boat restoration, boat storage facility also. So there's lots of marine projects that are being discussed and slowly coming to fruition. So it's good to see people taking advantage of these marine areas. But definitely those shipping lanes can provide opportunities for transshipment. And if not a main transshipment point, definitely a feeder into other transshipment points.
Along those same lines, we've got an idea, a thought from JT that the USVI is the gateway to the Caribbean and also the gateway to the US.
Yeah, we haven't talked about our runways, our 10,000-foot runway here on St. Croix and our international airports, but definitely we can be a gateway to the Caribbean. So there is potential to create some hub facilities for other Caribbean islands. As you know, regional travel is not easy, but perhaps we can take advantage of our runway and our international airports and create this hub for the Caribbean area. And again, please feel free to call us at 340-718-3339 if you have any questions or you'd like to join us in this conversation tonight.
Some additional responses coming in. Ms. Coldren stated that an additional uniqueness about the USVI is that we have family-owned and run small businesses.
Yeah, lots of small, what may be termed micro businesses, but definitely family-owned, family-run. Unique in regard to that, that we do have a lot of families involved in the business in many instances. So it's very close held businesses.
Additional feedback: an enormous diaspora population that would jump at the chance to return under the right circumstances.
Yeah, we have to tap into the diaspora population and we have to stop the brain drain, as we say from time to time. But as you're aware, Chanel, we did have discussions with the DC Virgin Islands Association in DC on Saturday. And it was really a very enlightening conversation. It's good to talk to them. And we are involved in the diaspora in this planning also. We realize that there are many Virgin Islanders that live on the mainland or live abroad in other areas that have definitely the interests of the Virgin Islands at heart. And so we're reaching out to those individuals and asking them to participate in the diaspora surveys and the diaspora open houses and be a part of the Vision 2040. And we're getting very, very good responses from them. So I want to thank the people in the diaspora. I also want to remind residents who are viewing tonight, whether it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, or you're viewing live, to please go to usvi2040.com and fill out one of the island-specific surveys, and also visit the open house and participate in the open house events. Again, that website is www.usvi2040.com, and please take one of the island-specific surveys for residents and also participate in the island open houses.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Mr. Biggs, because that's a really good segue for folks that are listening in and perhaps have participated in Virgin Islands associations in the States. So if you are part of an association in the States with the VI, and or you have family and friends in the States that are part of different associations, then have them reach out to us. We're willing and open to participate in Zoom meetings. And as Mr. Biggs mentioned, we're having upcoming events both for individuals in the mainland as well as to accommodate folks that may be anywhere in the world, but because we know Virgin Islanders know how to travel. So
I got a call on line one. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. What provisions or accommodations do you have for veterans-owned businesses?
For veterans-owned businesses, under our small business program, we have loans that we can provide to veterans. We also provide technical and managerial assistance in regard to startup. We can also basically assist you in our incubator and our accelerator. So for veteran-owned businesses, there's lots of assistance that we can provide to veterans. And we do have funding available. So if you're interested in starting a business or expanding your business, feel free to call us at 340-773-6499 on St. Croix, or 340-714-1700 on St. Thomas. And we more than likely will have to take a message because we're still working remotely for the most part as a result of COVID, but somebody will definitely get back to you.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome.
We've got an individual that has their hand raised on Zoom, so we'd like to recognize them. iPhone, you can unmute.
Hello.
Good night, caller.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Please assist us and tell us what you think some of the assets of the territory are.
Yes, I was just trying to find out if we have any connection with like all the Caribbean islands joining together to see where, to find a special goal where we can help ourselves economically in the Caribbean.
We're not a member of CARICOM, which many of the Caribbean islands are, but we do participate in various areas, and we have regular conversations with leaders from other Caribbean islands. We often promote the Caribbean regionally. So there's various things that we do in regard to trying to promote the Caribbean as a regional destination and also as an economic destination in regard to the islands of the Caribbean. But again, we're not an official member of the CARICOM entities.
Okay, thank you much.
You're welcome.
We've got quite a few coming in via Zoom with additional thoughts and feedback. So we're going to continue with Mr. Budson. He stated, with our natural beauty, we should position ourselves as leaders in ecotourism. As with our climate and renewable energy resources, renewable energy jobs can be created. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I think renewable energy is definitely someplace that we need, an area that we need to look at and we need to develop strongly. Again, going back to our weather and our clean, clear weather, on most occasions we get sun for many hours per day. So definitely renewable energy, particularly photovoltaic energy, is something that we need to look at. As you're aware, there are photovoltaic systems and the Water and Power Authority are developing some additional systems in regard to that, but it's definitely something that we need to look at. And we have not mentioned wind or even tides. I know there's lots of experimental areas in reference to tide flow and how you can create energy from rising and falling tides. And we have those types of situations here. So renewable energy resources is definitely something that we need to look at. But I would say particularly photovoltaic, as you're aware, the wind energy with the wind turbines, there's lots of issues in regard to noise and size and gathering the correct amount of wind data to make sure it's efficient. But definitely, I think solar energy is something that we need to look at heavily.
Absolutely. In addition, Mr. Quinones has added very advantageous tax regime.
Something right up our alley. Definitely, we have a very advantageous tax regime. As you are aware, we have one tax, and we usually say it's the federal income tax that stays here in the Virgin Islands through a mirror tax system, but we don't have a county tax, so we don't have a state tax. So the only tax we have is the one federal income tax that we have to pay. We do pay gross receipt tax for businesses. There's no sales tax. So there is an advantageous tax regime. I concur strongly with that.
Ms. George has added that people from the USVI have a deep love for the Virgin Islands, and most are willing to promote the territory anywhere they are.
Promotion of the territory. I think we have several, or maybe I should say hundreds of ambassadors all over the US and abroad. And yes, always promoting the Virgin Islands. Again, going back to our conversation Saturday, you can see Virgin Islanders who live abroad definitely have a keen interest of what's happening at home, and they always promote the territory. So I concur with Ms. George. I got a call on line one. Hold 1 second there, Chanel.
Okay.
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Great. You're going to assist us with some assets here in the territory?
Sorry, repeat that?
Are you going to assist us by providing some assets or things that you consider assets here in the territory?
Absolutely. I'm going to make sure that I do my part. I know that agriculture is something that's huge on St. Croix and has a lot of potential, as well as technology to really bridging the gaps between the young and the old. So I look forward to having filling out this survey and bringing along projects, especially with projects such as the RT Port.
Yeah, I mean, and please go to the survey. I think you'll find it takes about 10 minutes to fill that survey out. It's very quick. There are areas in the survey where you can talk about the development and of the island and what you'd like to see developed where. So please take your time and go to the survey. And for those of you out there, again, it's at www.usvi2040.com. And there's the survey there and the open house there. You just need to scroll down and fill those out. And thank you, caller, for participating.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm very good. I just wanted to make a comment for this discussion regarding the Buccaneer and Carambola as being a real asset.
Definitely. We definitely have some resorts that are real assets here in the territory. We have the Buccaneer, which is a premier resort. We have Carambola, which is a real nice resort. And as Carambola, as both of them come back online, they've taken the opportunities to improve their facilities as a result of being closed for this period of time, as well as DV Carina Bay out on the east end. They're also taking the opportunity to improve and provide a more a better experience for the tourists that come here. So they're modernizing somewhat. As they say, every cloud has a silver lining, and although they've been closed since the hurricanes, for the most part, again, when they reopen, we expect that they will reopen in a grander, more beautiful hotel facilities. You're correct. Those are definitely assets to the territory. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
We do have someone with their hand raised, Mr. Biggs. There's a Dean on Zoom. If you'd like to speak, you're recognized.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Dean.
Okay, great. Pleasant good evening to all.
Good evening, and thanks for calling.
My pleasure. My observation is that, or my point of interest, I think, would be the University of the Virgin Islands have been training people for years, close to 30 years in aquaponics, and it's been defunct now for the past 8-9 years, maybe. I think that's a great opportunity that we can resurrect, because people all over the world now are getting into aquaponics, and I think it would be a great opportunity for us to expand on. Thank you.
Definitely. I mean, the university continues to evaluate programs and add programs and add degrees to their catalog of coursework. I continue to agree with you that the university on itself is an asset to the territory with 2 campuses, one in St. Croix and one in St. Thomas. I think so. Aquaponics, their marine biology program is second to none, as are several of their other programs, including their nursing program and some of the others that they're training the workforce for. So the university plays a very important role in reference to training the workforce and getting the workforce ready for these jobs of the future. So definitely aquaponics, we need to look at we need to look at their marine biology as we see climate change continues to bleach our reefs and do a variety of different things with soil erosion and stuff. We need to continue to develop those programs. So definitely the university will have to play an important role as an asset to the territory. Anything else we have, Chanel?
Absolutely. So we've got quite a bit coming in. So we've got from Mr. Shuster, he'd like to see the islands become smart islands.
There's been some talk in regard to developing smart islands, and I concur with Mr. Schuster. I know he has a passion for technology. Definitely, we can take advantage of the middle mile that we have here in the broadband facilities that we have here and create smart islands. So I think it's just a matter of time, and we will move to this here. I got a call coming in, Chanel. Let me take this call on line number 1. Good evening, caller.
Yes. How are you?
Fine. How are you tonight?
Very good. Very good.
Do you want to identify some assets for us here in the territory?
Yeah. We're having a problem right now with
with the homeless and the, and the mental health cases, and also they're breaking to 3 or 4 cases. They're either they're homeless or they're have mental cases out there, and it's kind of making a big issue in a way. We're trying to clear the island, we're trying to beautify the island, but we have a lot of homeless cases out there, and also we have a lot of elderly people. I'm taking care of a friend. He's blind, and it's kind of heavy on me, because his family is no longer in the island, and friends are no longer the friends like how they were. So I'm just kind of looking for a better, I'm not saying a better agent or agency, but if they were to enhance the agency in a way that they can really help the, people out there.
Okay, I'm going to move that one, if you don't mind, instead of being an asset. I'm going to move that as one of the challenges we have is how do we deal with the mental health and the homeless. So I'm going to put that as one of our challenges to economic growth.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to put that down in our second category. So Chanel, if you can just make a note in regard to that, and we can start that off when we get to that segment in regard to what may be preventing or some of the challenges that we have in reference to economic growth and economic development. If we can just put services for the mentally ill and also services, I guess, in general in reference to homelessness.
Got it.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
So I don't know, Biggs, if you would indulge me, because we have quite a few here that have popped up, and I know we want to have Dan Stevens capture so much of it. So don't worry if it's not on the screen. We do have the comments in the chat that we'll be utilizing, because we're easily at 30 more comments that we have not been able to get to since we've been taking a few calls from online, as well as those speaking on Zoom. So I think at this time, we're going to move on to the next listening session.
Okay, I just wanted to, I want to say thank you for your participation. Don't leave. We are, as Chanel said, going to capture those, or we may not have put an asset that you identified up on the screen, but if you place it in the chat, we definitely will look at it and incorporate it into the plan as we're strategizing. So because of our time elements, we're unable to get everybody's asset in. But please continue to participate with us in reference to this next segment is what are some of the challenges that are affecting or basically, let me say, creating obstacles in reference to economic development and economic growth. And the gentleman before mentioned services for the homeless and for the mentally ill. And I know that's something we talk about in this community all the time. I'm going to take, I'm going to go one more in regard to that, and I'm going to kick this off again, and I'm just going to say the cost of energy and the reliability of energy. So I want to put that out there early in regard to, I recognize that that's one of the challenges that we have, one of the obstacles in reference to economic growth, the cost and reliability of energy. So again, please, the listening audience, if you want to call in, you can call in at 340-718-3339. If you're on a Zoom link, you can raise your hand if you want to be heard over the airwaves, and they will unmute your mic and recognize you, or you can just type it into the chat and we will identify it as we go along. So Chanel, I'm sure this is going to be an interesting segment as far as we look at some of the challenges that we have, and definitely we can list a few of them, but we'd like our audience to also participate with us and say, these are the challenges that they think we're experiencing as a territory in regard to stifling economic growth, stifling economic development.
Well, right off the bat, Dean has something he'd like to share, and then we've got already some additional stuff coming in. So I'll give Dean the opportunity.
Dean, are you on?
Oops.
Janelle, I have a call on line
Hello.
one. Let me go to line one. I'm sorry, is Dean there?
Dean, it looks like you went back on mute. So go ahead and take the call, Mr. Biggs, and we'll figure out the mute unmute situation.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for calling in. We're on our segment where we're trying to identify challenges here in the territory that's obstacles to economic development and economic growth.
Yes. One of my biggest concerns is yes.
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. The aluminum recycling. There's no aluminum recycling. There is no plastic recycling. There is no kind of anything of recycling in the Virgin Island, and I think that's one of our hurdles and challenges that we have, that we don't use materials that they already made to recycle or put it into some kind of facility so they could be used as sale anything, or as a profit something, or as an additional material.
I concur with you, caller, in regard to that. I think we do have to develop some sort of recycling facility for tires, for glass, for plastic as we go along. So thanks for calling and adding that to our listing.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
I got a call on line number 2. Caller, good evening. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you this evening?
I am not bad enough. Here is my challenge, is that I am a small business operator, fairly new, and my challenge has to do with backup capital. The thing is that I started the business, and it has a lot of potential. It's growing, but my challenge is I don't have the funds. How can I get some assistance, in terms of enhancing the business?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of programs in reference to small businesses. We have the US EDA, the Economic Development Bank, that can assist you in reference to financing your small business and your expansion of your small business to assist you in your growth. There's also entities that provide technical and administrative assistance, such as the Economic Development Bank Incubator, or the University of the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. So if you give us a call at 714-1700 if you're on St. Thomas, or 773-6499 if you're on St. Croix, we can potentially assist you or put you on a path where you may be able to obtain a loan to expand your business. Of course, you have to qualify for the loan, and to qualify, there's certain criteria you have to meet. But we'll be happy to assist you as we do many small businesses throughout the territory.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
Good evening, caller.
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm calling about the challenges on the island of
Yes.
St. Croix.
Yes, we're listening to you. You're on the air. Please provide your challenge or what you see as challenges to economic development and economic growth.
Okay, I'm a senior living on St. Croix, and I have a fixed income. And the problem that I face, I think the challenge on the island is grocery, the high cost of food, the food costs on the island. For example, I was in Say Plaza on this weekend, and I purchased a small bag of fish, 4 slices for $19.99, $20. For someone on fixed income, that is incredulous. That's a real challenge, because we don't have all that money. When you finish with spending $20, so those 4 slices can't even serve a whole family.
Okay, can I just say the high cost of living where we include several other items, not just groceries, but maybe prescription medication and a variety of other stuff. So if I just say high cost of living, which will include housing, energy, groceries, medication, I think that hits the nail on the head. And thank you so much for calling and providing that information to us.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
How are you this evening?
Good. I am.
Great. Thanks for calling in. What challenges would you like to identify tonight?
Okay, well, there's plenty, but the one that
I have a heart for is the totally discouraged and abandoned individuals that sleep on park benches and wander around and beg for money.
Okay. So we did identify services for the homeless. Is there a different terminology you'd like to put, or just the
No.
homeless population?
A different twist, maybe.
Okay.
It's my opinion, and I've kind of worked in the field. You know, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, but it is my opinion that those so-called dregs of society should have an opportunity to at least feel like a decent human being and have baths and even a little pampering. I know that sounds really crazy, but the truth is that they need to build up their self-respect, you know? And I volunteered myself to do this kind of thing with certain individuals, but I can't handle it all. You know, I'm just one person.
No. So you think we need to have more services for these individuals to assist them in regard, whether it be just cleanliness, some sort of maybe job training, the ability to earn some sort of living in regard to that?
Yeah, it's a totally different angle, and I think the Lord's put it on my heart, actually, that these people are worth something, and they need to be dignified. And I'm still exploring the ways to do it, you know, and I think I have a corporate host of people that would help out, free of charge.
All right, great. Well,
I know the church is doing a good job, and I really know I'm ignorant of all the things that I should know, okay? It's just what's been put on my heart.
all right, well, thank you for that. We'll add that, expand it on our listing. We've included services of support, well-being, job training, a variety of different items. So we've expanded the homeless area in regard to that. So thank you so much for calling.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for calling Vision 2040.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Biggs. How are you doing? You're doing a terrific job there.
Thank you.
My comment on the challenges for us here in the territory is being out of the custom zone. That's one of our big challenges compared to, say, Puerto Rico, that's in the custom zone, where shipping, mailing packages to the territory, you get an international rate versus a domestic rate. So that have an effect on a lot of services, a lot of things.
Okay, so you're saying outside the custom zone, so that's companies like FedEx,
Outside of the custom.
DHL, UPS, the cost
Yes.
because we get charged the international rate instead of the
Exactly.
mainland rate.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's one of
excellent.
for costs across the board.
Excellent. Yeah,
Okay.
we've added that to the listing. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay.
Chanel, sure you have a host of them inside the chat. Would you like to identify a few items that may be in the chat? If not, I can identify a few others that I don't see up there. And I'll put one on the screen right now. How about our healthcare facilities? I think there's a big concern in reference to healthcare here in the territory, and that affects our potential for economic growth. People want to feel that there's adequate healthcare facilities. I think I will contribute that to add to the discussion. Anything else that you have in the chat, Chanel?
Oh, absolutely. I think Dean started them off and it's sort of flowing right now. So we've got from Mr. Quinones, quality of service, lack of diversification of the economy. We send the youth off island and they stay gone. Disconnection from CARICOM, internet latency issues, already mentioned power costs and reliability issues, supply chain barriers, and US control of trade zone. And that was just one individual out of the many more that that are coming in right now. So from Ms.
Okay,
Colton,
let me add another one there because I'm surprised it's not up there thus far. How about just basically security and crime prevention? I think everybody wants to feel secure in the community, and I know at times we have these spurts of crime, and we hear those concerns regularly at the EDA. So I just wanted to add that up there. I think we're not looking necessarily at the bigger things. We're looking at some of the minute things that really affect us on the whole. So I'm seeing a few things that I may not have thought of, and I'm really glad that we have the audience participation the way they are. So therefore, if you want to call in, please feel free to call us at 340-718-3339. And if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand if you want to be heard, or type your comment into the chat area, and we'll read it out as best we can. And for those of you who want to join the Zoom link, feel free to go to www.usvi2040.com and join the link there. Also, while you're there, you can take the island survey, and you can also visit the open house.
We do have one person with their hand raised on the Zoom. Lam, if you'd like to speak, you're being recognized.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bless a good night to everyone. So tuning in on the last question and the economic growth, I'm trying to understand how to even make my sentence make sense, because if I decide to purchase something off island and ship it back home because I don't want to spend the high prices on the island for the exact same item, what can be done where I support the locals on the island and I won't have to ship abroad? Because that's growth that I'm hindering from not purchasing on the island, in my opinion.
Okay, let me see if I can kind of recap. Basically, what you're saying is off-island purchases or online purchases are a hindrance to economic growth because we're not supporting the local economy. Have
Correct.
I kind of coined that for you?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Very well.
We'll add that to the listing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, caller. Thanks for calling Vision 2040.
Yeah, good evening. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but here's my point. Land and water use plan. We go helter-skelter, a pop here, a pop there, versus having a distinctive development area where residential community is going to be.
Okay.
If on the residential community, you're going to have a basketball court, or you're going to allow a business, a kind of package shop store to be there because of the distance away from the main street. We have no sense of true direction as to where we want to see the community, and therefore everything is stagnated. When you have a plan and you say where the growth is going to be, this will give you the opportunity to constantly have a sense of direction as to where and what needs to be done to better the community.
I think that's very important in regard to what you've indicated. And what he's saying is basically we need a master land and water use plan. And I think that master land and water use plan will definitely assist with Vision 2040 as we create this economic plan. I know the Department of Planning and Natural Resources are trying to develop that master land and water use plan. But I can also say I think I've heard about that plan for the last 30 years or so. So we really need to get busy and create that. And I agree with you. I think that's really hindering our economic growth as we go forward. So thank you so much for adding that to the listing.
No problem, sir.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for calling Vision 2040.
Yeah, hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
You're on the air.
Oh, yes, good evening. Thank you. One of the things I think is that in order for small businesses to survive in this community, we have to control WAPA. WAPA, the cost of electricity is entirely too high for small businesses. Matter of fact, I know a few people who have to get out of business as a result of that. The other thing is that this community, because of the ocean and the sunshine and all that, is prime really for a retirement home. But we can't even venture into that industry because our healthcare system is so poor. So we need to put money into the healthcare system that would benefit us in addition to attracting retirees to come to this community. When you raise the salary of top level people, it really doesn't do anything for this economy. You need to give small people money, and that's where the money is circulated and create that multiplier effect. You've seen it. You give increase to the big guys, and nothing really happened. Nothing happened. We're creating a two-class society, rich and poor. And until we come to the realization that that's what's really happening here, we're not going to go anywhere.
Okay, so let me turn this up. We do have healthcare there, and we have the cost of energy, but I guess we could say opportunities for middle class growth. That there's a lack of opportunities in regard to middle class growth. Would that kind of wrap up basically what you're saying?
To some extent, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Matter of fact, if in the school system, if we were actually making young students aware of the importance of controlling their own economic destiny, we probably wouldn't be in the position that we're in. When you look around this community, you see that all the essential services in this community is provided for us by other people, when we in fact should be providing these things for ourselves. The other thing is agriculture. Agriculture is such an important industry because everything is flown in here. If planes and boat can't come here, we're going to starve to death. So we need to concentrate on that, so that at the least we can do is feed ourselves so that we could survive.
Okay, can I then add maybe in regard to that is lack of programs to encourage let me say innovation and entrepreneurship for our youth? Will that covers that?
That's part of it, and also building a real agricultural program. The other thing that I see happening is that if we need to have 5, 10, 15, 20-year plans as far as growth is concerned or development. And when one administration takes over, you don't just change the plan, you follow through with it, so that in the 10, 15 years we have something, a product that we can show that is bringing revenues to these islands. We don't export on, and the fact that we have some tourists coming here, and that's a fickle type industry. We need to look at what we have here so that we can export something that would really bring new dollars into this community. This community is just like a bank teller. After you go after all the hurricanes, thousands of dollars, millions of dollars come through here, but it doesn't stay here, and therefore you don't create that multiplier effect. A banker or a teller in a bank, she handles thousands of dollars every day, but she don't go home with a penny.
Okay, Carl, thank you so much. We've added a few things to the listing. Thanks for calling. Definitely, I think in regard to entrepreneurship programs and innovation type, developing innovation programs in our youth, that's definitely something that we need to look at. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to create that 20-year economic plan to sustain through administrations, to sustain through legislatures. So if it's community-based and community-driven, then we believe that we'll achieve that goal. So that's really what this exercise is about, and that's why we're coming out to the public and trying to get the public's opinion in regard to what are the assets, what are the challenges, and then in the next segment, we'll move to how can we capitalize on those. So thanks for calling.
Good program. Thank you.
All righty. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
How are you this
How you
evening?
doing?
Good.
I'm fine. I just happened to be in my car and tune into 1620 and heard the program. So the gist of what I got and what I heard was you were talking about economic development in the Virgin Islands.
Right. What we're doing is we're creating what we call Vision 2040, and what we're doing is trying to create a community-based 20-year economic plan. And so what we're doing is we're going through the exercise now, where this is the public forum, and we're asking the community to help us identify. Right now, this segment is barriers to economic growth and challenges in reference to economic development.
Well, a barrier is just like the last caller talked about the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, where I worked there for 13 years in the Harley Power Plant on the island of St. Thomas. And over a decade ago, I went to the Public Service Commission with an initiative, Green Energy. We can use hydroelectricity, and which will reduce the cost, which currently is about 41.5 cents a kilowatt, where the norm in America is between 10 to 13 cents. So there are several technologies out there that we could use to create this. The first thing we could do is there is a thing called solar powered bars, where we use solar to reverse osmosis, we create fresh water, and we simulate a dam. And what we do is we get a booster pump once we have created the fresh water to boost the PSI to turn a water-driven turbine. We used to have
Okay.
driven turbine, and steam is just when you boil the water.
Hold 1 second, Carla. Let me move that. I'm going to move that over. I'll take a note and move that over to the other segment as to basically when we talk about how we can capitalize on some of the assets that we have here in regard to that. So right now, this segment is things in reference to challenges and obstacles to economic growth and economic development. But I think that's a good thing in reference to how can we basically tap into an asset and what type of opportunities we may have. So I will put a note in regard to that in reference to an opportunity in reference to water and reducing the cost of electricity and the cost of water. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
No problem. Because we're not going to get any kind of economic development unless we reduce the cost of energy.
That was on our listing as the number one thing we need to do in reference to challenges is the cost of electricity and the reliability of electricity.
And just like the one of the callers, I want to say was the last caller, and I've heard this from the elders, 56, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that one of the callers hit the nail on the head when they said, if we put a plan into effect and another administration is elected, you don't tear it down. Because once you build a foundation, in order to complete the house, you now have to build the walls and build the roof. And if you keep tearing it down, when will you ever complete the job?
Well, that's exactly why we're going through this exercise here tonight. Is we're trying to build a
I know
foundation.
that's why I said, well, let me try to see if I can participate, and I was able to.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, but what I'd love you to do also participate by going to www.usvi2040.com and really take the survey and also go to the open house. And the open house have different subject areas and really write down all of your thoughts in regard to energy and how we can bring the energy costs
Okay,
down.
and let me wrap up on this because I know somebody else might want to get in. The other thing is, and I'm going to go on that website and participate as well, is we need a sustainable revenue stream. And I've came up with this initiative, me and another friend of mine who worked for WAPA as an engineer, about producing fresh drinkable water and exporting it. This is not seasonal. It's not cyclical. Everybody needs fresh drinkable water. And we have the equipment here in the territory to do that. And hopefully maybe when I go up on the website, I can more expand on my initiative.
Yeah, please do.
And with that, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to air my concerns and even just say what I had to say. And I'm going to hang up now and continue listening to the program. And like I said, I'm going to go on the website where you have more opportunity to put
information in.
Well,
thanks for calling. Have a good evening.
Hearing it here.
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening. There's two concerns that I would like to bring to your attention.
Please do. Housing, okay. The lack of housing.
Yeah, because there's people who need emergency housing, and it is very, very, very hurting to see that they can't be assisted.
Okay.
There's no assistance for them. Right now, I have a friend. She have a little son, and she went through a vibe in the community and housing assistance that she needs isn't there, and she have a son. You know, so she was going through. She was so stressed. I was talking to her, trying to help her and stuff, but what can you do? The rent them is so high. It's hard to find housing when your income is but a certain
Yeah.
amount.
What I'll do is
But I think,
I'll add lack of housing and high cost of rent, or high cost of housing
yeah,
also. So not only the lack, but also the high cost. So we can add that to the listing. Great.
okay. And one more thing is that we need to push agriculture. Everybody in the community needs to call in and talk about agriculture because we're supposed to be able to feed ourselves. We need to think more. It's a push thing.
Yeah, we have agriculture on the list. So thank you so much for calling in, and good luck with your friend.
Mr. Biggs, we're running
Hmm.
out of, we're running out of time on this particular topic, and we do have a few folks on Zoom, and so we would like to give at least one of them the opportunity, and then we'll have to move on to the next listening session.
Sure,
So-
please go ahead, Chanel.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me
Good
clear?
evening. We can hear you.
All right. So I believe in order to have an ultimate and suitable economy, we need to prepare the children then. So my question is, in this Vision 2040, is they going to train and prepare the children in the territory so that they could be able to seize opportunities by or within the 20-year time execution?
Everything is on the table as part of this plan. Both the Commissioner of Education and the President of the University sits on a steering committee. So definitely workforce training is going to be a big portion of it. Definitely, even if we don't, if we have the jobs and we don't have the workforce, we stifle economic growth. So we are looking at workforce and how we can get the workforce to a certain level. As you know, education is also relooking their curriculum right now, and I've sat on that steering committee. So we're integrating plans and talking to each other. So these aren't standalone plans. So what we're doing is try to synergize, integrate, and create one 20-year vision that incorporates all of the plans that are out there. So everything is on the table right now. So definitely workforce is going to be one of the areas. Chanel, you have another call? I have a call on number on line 1. Can I clear this call and then go back to you quickly?
We actually have to move on to the next one. So I don't know if we can go ahead and start the next listening session, and perhaps the caller calling in can speak on that.
Okay, caller on line 1, please don't go. We have to move on to the other session, but I will be happy to take your information. I'll give you my email address at the end, and you can email me and continue the discussion. But I'll make you number 1 on this. Where do we see the future business opportunities for the Virgin Islands? I'm going to take this call on caller number 1, so you can have the opportunity to kick in right now. Good evening, Vision 2040.
Yeah. Good evening. This Big?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Big, let me ask you a question. When you submit a business plan, how long you have to wait before you get an answer?
If the business plan is complete, we usually try to get it completed in 30 days. Our board meets every month, so depending when you submit it or what time of the month, it usually takes about 30 days maximum if the plan is complete.
Okay, well, Flanders did have a business plan, it complete everything, and we're going on 2 years now waiting.
Was it submitted? It has to be submitted to the EDA. I know Ms. Samuel in our office is working on business plans and loans all the time. So, you know, we could have this conversation offline. You could give me a call in the office in the morning, 713-6499, and we can discuss it in detail and we can find out exactly where your plan is at.
Okay.
Okay, 773-6499.
All right, thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're trying to figure out where we see future business opportunities. Chanel, I'll turn it over to you quickly. I do have a call, but I know I kind of dominated that last segment, so I'll give you a chance really to get some of the Zoom people in, and then I'll take this call in a few seconds.
All right, sounds good. In that case, I'm going to, let's go back to Jay. If you'd like to share, where do you see the future business opportunities for the VI? All right, so nothing from Jay. We're gonna move on. Perhaps we can go again. And Dean, you're being recognized. That was my fault. Go ahead, Dean.
Dean appears to be on mute now.
Am I here?
We
Can you
can
hear
hear you
me?
now, Dean. We can hear
Okay,
you.
wonderful. Technology, the good thing about it, keeps you on your toes. I wanted to say that our opportunities in agriculture, everybody's talking about agriculture. But to really develop the agriculture, we have to have access to capital for farmers. We can start a business with a business plan on any level except for agriculture. You can only get funding for agriculture if you've been in agriculture for at least 3 years. And no other business plan requires that, only an agricultural plan. So that's one of the areas we need to be considering to restructure if we really want to develop agriculture.
Yeah, Dean, I don't know what type of financing agriculture is seeking, but under the Economic Development Bank and their microloan program, we don't have the 3-year requirement. We can do startup farms as long as they're identified as farmers through the Department of Agriculture, and we can also do for fishers also. So anybody you know who may be interested in a farm loan or a fisherman loan, they can feel free to contact us at 773-6499 or 714-1700, and we can potentially assist them.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like we have Jay unmuted now. So Jay? Jay, you may go ahead. You're unmuted. Oh, looks like more technical difficulties. So we do have some comments coming in the chat with regard to this specific question or inquiry. And the first one is mandatory hands-on training and certification of inmates, including food production, plumbing, construction, and also telework.
Okay, I like to list a few. If you have some additional information, I think we have the opportunity, like I said, with the South Shore Trade Zone. We definitely have the opportunities for developing a high-valued manufacturing industry. Also, with our broadband, there's definitely the opportunity for asset management and trading, whether it be stocks or financial services businesses. I think those are there, and definitely technology. We have the RT Park for those people who may be interested in software development or some sort of e-commerce. I think technology can definitely be developed and used. So that's several areas. Of course, we talked about renewable energy. So there's lots of areas I think we can continue to develop here in the territory. And I'm hoping that our listeners and our participants are there to assist in regard to opportunities that they see for development of businesses here in the territory.
Additional comment that came in is maker spaces for local crafts and small manufacturing. They also added urban agriculture, and lastly, cultural heritage tours, museums, and art exchange as business opportunities for the VI in the future.
And I like to say, I think all of that adds to quality of place. As you know, Chanel, I often talk of quality of place. And I think quality of place for economic development is not just the business economy, but also the museums, the recreational facilities we have, the green spaces we have, the beaches. So quality of place is very important. Healthcare, services, security, education, a variety of different things create quality of place. So I agree with that. That person who was indicating that we need these type of spaces. As you're aware, we will be doing our pop-up shop in the very near future. So I'll put a plug in for our enterprise zone and the pop-up shop and our local manufacturers, where we'll have the pop-up shop here on St. Croix, and you'll see some advertisements in regard to that. But also we'll have the pop-up shop on St. Thomas. And the pop-up shop is for local manufacturers, small manufacturers, and we allow them to place their products in the shop and basically try to sell their products. And we also assist them with trying to export their products to other markets. So I think those are opportunities also. The global economy, I mean, online, there's no reason that we should be the only ones buying online. We have products that other persons can also buy. So the global economy is definitely an opportunity for us to expand businesses here in the territory.
So we don't have any hands raised, but we do have plenty of comments still coming in. So we do want to remind everybody that even though the comment may not be mentioned on air or even placed directly onto the screen, we are keeping everything from the chat as well as from Facebook. And then again, a reminder for those wanting to call in, the call-in number is 340-718-3339. So Mr. Biggs, by all means, if you have any calls coming in.
No calls at the moment, but I encourage the audience to call in 340-718-3339. We'd love to hear from you in references to opportunities that we have here that can expand and we can develop the business community. As you know, St. Croix was really developing into a culinary area. So I think that's another opportunity that we have if we continue to grow the restaurants that we have here. And as I indicated earlier, they run the gamut from, I say the sushi restaurant to fine dining and everything in between in regard to that. But you can find anything here on St. Croix. And you know, most of the restaurants, the food is excellent and they're known throughout. As a matter of fact, tourism was promoting St. Croix as a culinary destination. And I hope they continue to do that because the restaurants here are really excellent.
Awesome. Something that wasn't mentioned thus, we've got a comment that came in on recycling of plastics and paper products, and along those same lines, ecological services and research.
I think recycling on a whole is definitely something that we need to look at. You know, we're sort of a disposable society where everything gets thrown into our landfill. Which I guess they're what they call bail and wrapping now and shipping off island or whatever the case may be. But definitely we need to create some sort of recycling program to recycle not only plastics, but also glass, tires, a variety of other areas. So I think there are opportunities there. I think there are opportunities also, again, in the marine industry. There's definitely with our deep water channels, our deep water ports, to create a dry dock facility so that ships don't have to go to the U.S. mainland for their Coast Guard. Basically, the Coast Guard safety, I think is annually they have to get a Coast Guard inspection. And so if we had that type of facility here, there's the possibility and the opportunities to create things. We have about 10 more minutes of the program, so we're encouraging everybody to call in. I do have a call on line number 1. Oh, I guess not yet.
All right, we
Good evening, caller.
Okay.
Yes, good evening. I'd like to offer an economic development proposal for healthcare. Our healthcare industry, we should be the area where people will come to seek their health care, and I'm hopeful that maybe the medical school will be able to come to fruition, so that we can attract persons from the Caribbean or the mainland to come down and have excellent health care.
So let's call it medical tourism. How about that?
That sounds fine.
Okay. Yeah, I know that there's really, as our medical facilities are being developed, St. Croix, we're seeing urgent care facilities being developed on St. Croix, and the urgent care has excellent health care, and they're sort of assisting in the interim while our hospitals are being rebuilt into the modular hospitals. But definitely the opportunities are here to really develop a nice healthcare facility as a result of the weather and everything else, where you can come here, have your medical care and relax and get well. So definitely, I think we have opportunities in healthcare, and I'm going to say wellness, not only healthcare, but wellness also. I think there's definitely wellness we can add to healthcare. I think they go hand in hand.
Yes, and it also has a lot of spin-off businesses as a result. And, you know, many people like to retire. Our environment and climate is perfect. If we have good retirement communities where persons would have living facilities that are helpful for retired persons, I think this would also be a good spin-off.
Okay, so let's call it assisted living facilities or senior living facilities.
Yes, that sounds good.
All right, thank you so much for retirement facilities. Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chanel.
Fantastic. Thank you, Biggs. So we've got some comments as well coming in from Facebook. One of them is to create products from recycled items such as tires that can be used for paving roads. And another, it continues on recycling, not just recycling, but our entire waste management process needs to be reevaluated. What about reusing the waste to create products locally was another suggestion that came in through Facebook. And lastly, we've got more children museums as well that could include replicas of objects that represent different occupations to expose various career options to children in a playful but educational manner. There's
I
so
think
many
museums
more.
on a whole, I think there's opportunities there. We have a very rich history, and if we share that history by creating museums throughout the territories, I think definitely that adds to a place of quality of place. Yeah, museums and heritage tourism, I think, is very, very important for the territory, and we can grow from those areas. Renewable energy, I think there's lots of opportunities for renewable energy. We kind of spoke about that in every segment thus far, as far as energy. So definitely, I think renewable energy is another area where we can create a variety of different areas. Agriculture, we spoke about in regard to that. And I think we've kind of touched on it. We didn't go into it in detail, Chanel, in reference to when we talk about STEAM and how we're creating our plan around services, technology, energy, agriculture, manufacturing. But we've kind of captured that with the audience just from their responses tonight. So I'm happy to see that we're doing that. We have about 4 minutes left in the program. So please, if you want to get on air, please give us a call at 340-718-3339. Or if you're in our Zoom, raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you, or please put a comment in the comment section so we can add that to our listing of opportunities here in the territory.
So I'm going to go on with one more, and then we'll start to wrap up, and then perhaps we can take some more then. So with the last one from Zoom, hurricanes are given in the VI. Is there any consideration to the blue collar labor pool, heavy equipment trade, house building trades and plumbing, electricians, carpentry, masonry, to keep recovery funds in the VI? And that's part one.
Again, I think we're going to have to look at all of those areas as we talk about workforce development. And our vocational schools will play an active role in regard to how do we prepare our tradespeople and get them certification so they can qualify for jobs in those trades. So definitely that is some place that we can use as growth opportunities. definitely look at that as we develop our workforce. That was segment one. Chanel, you had a couple more?
Yes, so the next segment was also what about the business side of recovery? For example, there's a consulting firm that's currently paid $100 million a year during the Irma recovery. Is there considerations to build capacity by developing the skills, knowledge base, and abilities to process the business side of hurricane recovery, keep the money circulating in the Virgin Islands?
I definitely think that there's opportunities to do a variety of those things. We have many of our persons here in the territory have worked in those entities. It's a matter of taking a risk and developing as we go along. They're giving me the signal, Chanel, that we have 2 more minutes. So if we have another call, we're going to have to get that call in, and then we're going to start wrapping up. Or another comment?
Last comment, another comment? Sure, no problem. So to create hydrogen industry connected to Lime Tree and use fuel for buses, electric batteries, forklifts, and cars, and continued education and certification requirements for all tradespeople.
I think we're going to have to do this program again. We're going to have to wrap up now, unfortunately. I know everybody's interested, and I want to really thank the audience for participating. Please continue to add your comments. You can also go to the website, www.usvi2040.com. There is a comment section there. Put your comments in, let us know. All of these things will be evaluated and looked at as we start to create the plan. We will be coming back to you in reference to letting you know what's happening. But again, thank you so much. Please, please, please participate. Encourage your friends and family to participate. And thank you again for tonight. Again, you can complete the surveys at www.usvi2040.com. There's also island resident surveys. There's the open houses, and there's also a calendar of events. And we want you to continue to participate. There will be additional town halls in December. So stay tuned and we'll let you know. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Chanel, your wrap up?
Yep, that's it. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you. And we're gonna go ahead and end the town hall meeting.